Hey everyone, and welcome to On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk about everything you and your friends are talking about at rehearsal on a water break. And this week it is my long-awaited NFL Marching Ensembles episode. I've been really excited about this one, so we're going to figure out what made Trish say.
And we performed after victories outside the stadium. We never performed.
And why Woody said,
drums are set up, band room is all cleared out, and they're ready to go.
All this and more on this week's episode of On a Water Break.
Off the mat and go.
Welcome to On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk everything marching arts.
Everyone, bring it in. It's time for a water break.
Hello, everyone. It is Steven, and we are back for another exciting episode this week, and we are all about football, baby. Bringing it to the marching arts, and I've been so excited about this episode where we get to learn more about NFL drumlines, other marching ensembles, and really what's beyond just the regular activity the way we know it. So let's see who we've got on the sidelines this week. We've got Trish. Of course, you had to be on this episode, Trish.
Of course I did. Hi, everybody. Am I the biggest sports fan of the On a Water Break hosts? Do we think that's a thing, maybe?
Probably, because I really go diehard for the Eagles, but you cross more sports boundaries than me. I'm just a diehard Eagles fan.
I do. Sorry to say, I live in New Jersey. I drive past MetLife Stadium on my way to work. I know.
No, I'm sorry to hear that. It's
been a rough year, but how about those Knicks?
It's okay. You've got plenty of things to be happy about up there with the Yankees.
Do. Absolutely.
Well, happy you're here, and Woody, I'm happy you're here as well. Definitely knew right away that we wanted Woody on an episode about NFL drumlines.
Yeah, birds, baby. And let's just say about those Cowboys. No playoff for them.
Oh, man. Well, I could not agree more, man. We're definitely going to have more than enough time to trash everyone in the NFC East, including certain members of this call.
There's so many of us here. We have the Eagles, we have the Commanders, we have the Giants. There's so many of us here.
We've got it all represented here. So
yeah.
We'll get into that in a moment here.
We just needed Cowboy fan, and we have the whole NFC here, huh?
We were close. We were really close. It didn't work out.
We almost had him, but who needs Cowboys? It's okay. We do just fine with the rest of the NFC.
I'm with you.
So here we are. Last year we did an episode with the Baltimore Ravens marching band director, and ever since then I knew we had to pull this episode together. You should definitely go back and check out that episode, but for this one here, let's figure out who's joining the team tonight. We've got Lindsey Schueller of the Washington Commanders marching band. Lindsey, thank you for joining the call.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, and we'll come back to you in just a moment. I'm excited to hear about everyone's background, and I think all these different ensembles are so different. They operate and do all different kinds of things. It's wildly different world than what most people are familiar with in the marching arts. So I'm really excited to hear what everyone gets into. But we've also got Vince Wallace here from the Pittsburgh Steelers Steeline. Vince,
how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining the call. We're happy to have you here. Just had a big game this last weekend against the Steelers, man.
Yeah, that was a tough one for us, but still got a couple left. Hoping we can pull off a strong end of the year here and get a home playoff game, maybe a division win, and let the chips fall where they may.
Well, that's the big thing, man. Clearly going to be a playoff-bound team, and you guys are really strong. So exciting things in January for you guys coming. And Keith Rousu, I'm sorry. I hope I probably mispronounced your last name, Keith. Please correct me.
Rousu is fine. No worries.
Rousu. Great. Keith Rousu, who is a member of the Seattle Seahawks Blue Thunder. So coming to us all the way from the West Coast, Keith. Thank you for joining the call.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Bird is a bird is a bird is a bird.
I'll agree with that, Woody.
Go Birds. But Lindsey, you were here in season 1. You were one of our first few guests that we've had, actually, and a lot has changed since then. I don't think you actually gave us a 32 count life story because we hadn't invented that bit yet. Now we've probably done that 50 to 100 times. But Lindsey, why don't you kick us off? We'll give you 32 counts, 8 and in off the Met, and you could tell us who you are, your background, and kind of what brought you to today.
Yeah. All right. I was born and raised in Michigan, so I'm actually a Lions fan despite working for the Commanders. I live in Atlanta. I now work for the Pacific Crest Drum Corps. I work with Q2 Indoor. This is my 3rd season with the Commanders, and it's their 3rd season under the new umbrella and the rebranding. It's been a ton of fun. It's such a unique thing. I have my doctorate in audiology, and I don't use it at all. I write drill full time, and I love it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, congrats on writing drill full time. We're going to have to talk off hours here because I need to get out of my full-time job. I don't want to be there. I need to make money doing something creative someday. But yeah, we're so happy to have you here. Your 3rd year doing the Commanders marching band. I'm going to want to hear because it's a whole marching band, right? It's not just a drumline?
Yep. A full marching band. We have saxophones and brass and drums, and we coordinate with some of the other entertainment departments. Yeah, it's a unique thing for sure.
That's what's going to be really interesting to me because the Eagles drumline is very like we exist within the Eagles game day entertainment structure, and we're part of the Eagles organization, but we're very like contained. There's not a lot of we're very self-contained. If you had a whole marching band, there must be so many logistics that go into all of this, and you're like a very, very big piece of what's going on the stadium every weekend. So
yeah,
can't wait to hear more about that. But real quick, let's get 32 count stories from the rest of our panel tonight. Vince, do you want to get us going with your introduction?
Sure thing. Ready when you are.
All right, let's get it.
All right, so my name is Vince Wallace, born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, east suburbs, Monroeville area. I went to IUP for music education. I'm a band director, elementary, middle school band director in the Pittsburgh area, and I've been running the Steeline for 13 years now. I do a lot of other freelancing and gigging too, but Steeline and teaching full time are my main gigs. Steeline feels like a full-time job in a lot of ways. It's a ton of work, but we love it. We've been doing it a long time, and it's a really great thing.
Yeah, wow. Sounds really similar to the Eagles drumline in some ways. There's a lot of IUP guys at the Eagles drumline as well.
Zach Larimer, Andy Moffett, know all those guys. Great guys.
Oh man, I love Andy. Love Zach too. Those are some really cool dudes that I've gotten to meet since I've been in the program there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to hear. You said gigging. That's a huge part of the Eagles drumline experience too. So I can't wait to hear more about what you guys get into. But before we do that, Keith, why don't we get your 32 count life story so we can know a little bit more about you before we go?
Roger that. Keith Rousu, born and raised in Seattle, Washington. Went to the University of Washington. I was in the drumline there for 4 years, and then I was a cheerleader, which led to my first gig in pro sports. I worked as a cheerleader for the Seattle Sonics before they left and became the Oklahoma City Thunder. Then I went back to school for a degree in sports management, started the Seahawks drumline 21 seasons ago. I just retired from the Seattle Sounders FC marching band that I started 16 years ago. And chased the rock and roll dream for a long time, but Seahawks is what stayed.
That is so cool, man. Wow, it's really awesome to have, not just one, but 2 guys on the call here that actually created the ensemble itself. That's really, really awesome. Thank you guys both for joining. Cool. So I think a good first thing that we can talk about here is just how we got involved in the ensembles. For me, it's quite far the opposite from what you guys just described. I wasn't even that aware. I knew the Eagles had a drumline, but my buddy Alex just texted me and he was like, dude, you got to come audition with me. It's just a video. You submit a video. He was my best friend from college. He was the center snare from the drumline at Penn State. And I was doing a lot of independent band at the time, but submit a video. Wasn't fully sure what I was getting myself in for, but knew that I loved the birds. That was my big thing. Loved the Eagles. And since then, it's like totally changed my perspective of what Drumline is to the rest of the world. Like, entertainment band is really what most of the world knows Drumline to be, and it's what most people are interested in hearing as well. The craziest thing for me to discover, like, we can talk more about it later, but I honestly have more fun playing the entertainment band stuff than I do playing like drum corps pieces. It's like most of the stuff that we're doing, most of the stuff we do for regular people in Eagles Drumline is like, hey, that's everything I wanted to do anyway. Just like super big, loud, fun notes, like groovy stuff. Just, it's cool. I love it. But why don't we go around the horn here a little bit and hear about how everyone got involved. I have a feeling for Vince and Keith, this will be a kind of more lengthy story here since you had to originate your groups. But Lindsey, why don't you get us started and tell us about how you got into the Commanders marching band?
Yeah. So around 2020-ish, I don't know exactly around the time, but the now Commanders were interested in kind of rebranding, renaming. They were the Washington football team for a good minute until they settled on Commanders. And previously, there was a marching band that was associated with the team. They weren't employed by the team. They were just kind of adjunct, I guess, is the best way to describe them. And with the rebrand, they wanted to really incorporate the band as part of the entertainment division. And so that meant employees, that meant kind of onboarding everyone and having a plan with everyone else within the division. And really like coordinating all of that. And I just happened to know somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody who was like, hey, I know this person who can write this drill and will be a great part of the team. And so the director who teaches some groups in Georgia reached out to me and was like, hey, I got a recommendation from this person who knew this person who knew this person. What are your thoughts? Do you want to be involved? And it was still kind of in its infancy of the team figuring out exactly what the band was, what the role was, and what separate things do the drumline folks do. Are there separate things for a smaller ensemble? So it was very much figuring things out in that first year. But it was just somebody who knew me, and we kind of got connected, and it all kind of went from there.
Yeah, wow. So what is your exact role then with the ensemble? Did you say you're writing the drill there, or?
Yep. Yeah, I write the drill, and all of that's in coordination with. There's a couple different subsets of dance teams. So often that involves them where some of the hip hop dancers, they're not exactly cheerleaders. They definitely do more of the like hip hop style. Some of them get involved in our show, like get into the form and, perform with us. So a lot of that is in coordination with them. And, it's just been kind of an ever evolving thing.
So that's like a heavy degree of coordination between the whole different sectors of game day entertainment that you guys have. Is that like, are you doing new things for every game? Are you working similar routines throughout the length of the season? Like, how's it really go down?
There's a pregame routine that they do at every home game. And that is coordinated with the dancers. The command force is their name. And then they give us a halftime performance at one of the home games where the past 2 years it's been the salute to service game. And so it's been very like armed forces oriented. Last season, last season it was like playing the medley of all of the different branches anthems and had vets out on the field opening their flag. And this past year, we did a little bit more focused, like music of the Vietnam era, and specifically we're celebrating the vets of the Vietnam War. But the first year we did like this big Christmas spectacular that involved like a juggler and some stilts folks, and it was wild. So it's been very different every year for that single halftime show. And that's the one. It's literally just a one and done on the halftime show. And then every other game, it's pregame and playing stands, which has been kind of an interesting thing, working out with miking through the stadium system and how that works and how we can play along with things that don't exactly like sync up with what we hear. It's been pretty cool, and
probably
being able to
go in-ears and stuff too, right?
Yeah, I wish. And I during the like November-ish part of the season, I'm in DC at least once or twice a week, rehearsing the band, teaching them the drill. So that's really great for me that I get to do that and kind of like include some like additional production value just simply because I'm there and I can teach it to them directly. Which has made our halftime performance just that much more interesting and crowd pleasing. Yeah,
no, that's awesome. That's like probably one of the closest versions of like band as we know it that I've seen in the NFL context.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I'll definitely want to come back more because really from everyone, I'm going to want to hear like what your game day routines are like, what your rehearsal routines, if you rehearse, because, in my world, we actually barely rehearse. I'll explain. There's a whole litany of reasons why we almost never rehearse.
That was going to be my number one question. I was going to ask Lindsey, but it really is for all of you. Like, what is the rehearsal schedule like? Like, how do you do this?
Yeah, I mean, why don't we go around the horn real quick and we'll start with Lindsey and do quick answers because after that, I want to get into Vince's story of how he got involved and how he got the group going. But Lindsey, how often do you rehearse?
So auditions have been happening kind of in the March area, and that includes like prepared etudes and a small marching portion as well, because that's definitely a part of what we do. And then music gets handed out, and then we reconvene in August, right after DCI finals, like literally the day after, for it kind of our like band camp week, where we learn the pregame show, just run through all the music, make sure everyone is good to go for upcoming game days. And then it's really like twice a month or so during September and October, maybe a little bit more in October. It's Wednesdays, typically. Just as we're getting ready for more games. And then once we know a little bit more about the halftime performance, most things with the NFL are subject to change at any time, all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Even just this past year. I
guarantee that's true for all four of us.
Yeah. Even just this past year, our original halftime performance date was changed 2 weeks earlier. And so we had to just kind of like, okay, let's scramble and make sure this is right for 2 weeks earlier than we originally had planned. So as we got into November and as that date was getting a little closer, right after Veterans Day, that's when we just had a little bit more rehearsals, making sure everybody's good to go. And thankfully, we're allowed onto the field on Sundays in the morning before the game starts. So we always have just a brief rehearsal on the field before we actually are out there doing the thing.
Nice. That's pretty cool. I mean, like the degree to which you guys are all involved really indicates that your front office and like executive management is into what's happening. Because like it's no small undertaking. You guys get time on the field. You have a lot of members to support. So it's cool to see that they're really supporting the marching arts in that way. Why don't we go, Keith? And can you tell us real quick how often does I believe it was Blue Thunder, right?
Yes, that's correct.
How often do you guys rehearse?
Somewhat similarly, with the NFL league technically starts in April. So it's just, so we audition in April and then we rehearse weekly, pretty much starting then, to bone up for the year. And, really, the first kind of 6 weeks are getting the rookies ramped up to kind of a veteran status, at least to being able to perform. And then once we get into the season, it can sometimes be 2 or 3 times a week, depending on the features that we do for the games. So and they are dynamic per week. So we have different guest artists that come sit in with us, different people that we work with, and different, production or performance elements for each game. So everything is unique. Nothing is really repetitive other than, some of the beats that we play. So that's probably the best nutshell of it.
So what does the game day performance typically look like? If it's not always the same thing, is it always in the same slot or the same area of the stadium?
Sometimes. Yeah, I mean, we've got a routine around our stadium where we play pregame before the gates are open. Once the gates open, and kind of working our way around the apron of the stadium exterior. Then we perform in our event center, which is attached to the stadium. It's kind of like a tailgate area because we don't really have much tailgating where we are in the city. Our stadium is part of kind of the city fabric, so there's not really much places for fans to tailgate. There's bars right next to the stadium, and so we take a little bit to them. But then, we play pregame on the field or up in the upper deck, depending on our guests or lack thereof, or whatever we're doing. And the other elements on the field, then usually we get a timeout in game, could be in the second quarter or the third quarter, based off of what we might be doing at halftime. So sometimes we're included there and sometimes we're not. And then, of course, after every home game, we perform outside once we win. We don't perform after losses anymore. Fans took it a little personally many years ago, and they don't seem to want to be entertained and have a positive vibe when you lose.
I'd feel concerned for my health and well-being, my safety, if Eagles Drumline performed after a home game loss. I don't think it would be good.
And it's funny because the Sounders band performs after every game, win or loss, doesn't matter. In the same city, in the same stadium, in the same, arguably for some of the same fans. But the Seahawks fans tend to be a little bit more passionate and not as understanding after a loss.
That's funny. Something about football, just really, it's like war, gets you going.
Truth.
Can you imagine if I had a Giants color guard? And we only we performed after victories outside the stadium. We never perform. We'd never perform.
You would never perform.
Yeah. No, we don't win at home. Or ever, but
I thought you meant ever, but is that true? You don't win at home?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
It's okay, just down 295, there's a very nice football team that you could become a fan.
Nothing's
really stopping you. But
no.
Have fun. All right, Vince, why don't you tell us a little bit about your rehearsal schedule, and then after that we're going to pop to a quick commercial before we hear more about your and Keith's stories originating these drum lines.
Sure. So Steeline, actually, we audition in June, which is a little late compared to a lot of drum lines. But one of the main reasons we do that is because our busiest month of the year is May, believe it or not. Obviously, that's outside of football season, but there's just in the Pittsburgh area, I don't know, for whatever reason, there's just a lot of organizations and groups bringing us in for outside events in the month of May. I think usually we're around 10 to 12 events every May, parades, corporate events, community events, charity foundation stuff. So we can't really be functional with a brand new drum line in April if we have all this work to do in May. And then June, oddly enough, it's summer, but that's usually one of our least busy months. So it just has always worked out that we audition in June. So the first 2 weekends in June, we have 2 Sundays where we'll have open auditions. We add advertise it starting in April on our website, social media, things like that. And auditions open to anyone 18 and older. Come out, very typical Drumline style audition. Vets, new folks come out, have everybody re-audition again every year, hold everybody accountable. And we'll set the line usually by mid-June. And then by the last or second to last Wednesday, just depending on how the calendar falls, we'll start rehearsals on Wednesday evenings, 7 to 10. And we rehearse at local school sites. We rehearse at my school. We've partnered with other schools in the area. It's just been easier for us to function that way, relative to the team and their facilities, things like that. But we rehearse every Wednesday night, 7 to 10, from mid to late June up until mid-December. We actually just had our final rehearsal of the season this past Wednesday. And there may be a few Wednesday nights in there where we're off, like the last Wednesday of October. We always take off and have a Steeline Halloween party. And end of August, everybody's really burnt out from preseason because that's one of the more intense stretches of the year. Again, that may be strange to hear, but preseason is really hard getting those gears grinding again. We take a week off there, Thanksgiving, stuff like that. A few random breaks, but for the most part, end of June up until mid-December, where every Wednesday night, 7 to 10, learning new music, rolling out new things, reviewing and tweaking what we need to, and just getting better and making a better product.
Yeah, so that's like it sounds a lot like the EDL experience in terms of how you guys gig a lot, and that's a fundamental part of what you do.
Absolutely, it's an enormous part of what we do. We average, and these are rookie numbers compared to Keith over there, but we're about 50 to 60 events a year. Okay. And NFL regular season is 10 games, right? So 40 of our events every year are not game events. Now, granted, a lot of those are for the team direct, things like training camp or the NFL draft party. We also work with a lot of corporate partners who book events at the stadium. The Steelers have event space at Acrisure Stadium. And so we're in direct contact with some of those folks who handle that. They'll bring stuff to us and we work with them to book them. So a lot of it is team direct. A lot of it's just people in the area who just want to bring a little taste of the Steelers to their event. And we're an accessible way to do that.
Yeah, that's the same deal with the Eagles Drumline. So in the Eagles Drumline, we're a part of the same like package of cheerleaders, Swoop, the mascot, and also the pep band, which is kind of like a small Mummers style band that the Eagles also puts out. A little bit of Philly culture in there. Yeah, the Eagles Drumline, you have to maintain a minimum of 30% of gig attendance in order to stay involved year over year. If you don't make at least 30% of the gigs, because it's not mandatory, there's a lot of gigs that come out all different times of the day. Could be during a weekday work day, could be like weekend at night, weekday at night. There's all types of gigs that come out. And most gigs that the Eagles Drumline do at least only require like maybe 6 to 10 people. For some other larger events might require the entire drum line. So bottom line of that story is like that in order to even stay in the group, the gigs turn out to be the most important thing. You have to do the gigs. That's like the fundamental way that the group justifies its own existence almost for the organization, is that it gigs and it can produce revenue to offset the way that it also costs.
Yeah, absolutely. And you sound exactly like me talking to my group, just about how important it is to do those events. We have something similar. We have a 5 event minimum outside of game day that our guys must do in order to maintain their membership. So that something they have to do every year. We keep pretty meticulous track of that. And we also kind of, eyeball certain events for certain people. We'll encourage like, hey, we know that you work a flexible schedule. Here's a morning event. Do you think you could do this? And I found that helps a lot as we go through all this, sort of tailoring the right person to the right event, not just the drummers, but with schedules and who's available at certain times.
Yeah, that turns out to be huge. It's honestly shocking to me sometimes that we even like make it all work. It's like we always find a way to have coverage for all the gigs.
Oh yeah.
Scrap it together. But we're going to jump in with way more. Yeah, I feel like even on game day sometimes it's like we're figuring out what we're doing here. There's a little bit of guesswork, or we're just going to do it live, Screw it, we're doing it live. But
that's right. Just do it.
Let's jump back in. We're going to get more from our guest clinicians here in a minute, but let's send everyone back into the stands. We're going to learn the drum part for Fly Eagles Fly, and we will be right back.
Hey, this is Christine Ream.
And Chris Green.
Guard Closet was founded as a consignment business in 2000. Since then, it has grown to include winter guard, band, percussion, and other genres.
We can help you with custom flag and costuming designs.
Our consignment inventory has plenty of great looks for your color guard, drumline, and marching band.
Pay it forward. When you purchase consignment, you help other programs. Last year, we sold over 400 sets of consignments and returned over $125,000 in payments to our consigners for their sales.
Additionally, Guard Closet offers custom and pre-designed costumes, flags, floors, and formal wear, full or partial show writing, educational programming, and other services.
Max out your rehearsal time and set up a microsite for easy student ordering for shoes, gloves, and other equipment.
The Guard Closet team is here to help you get everything you want and need for your season. Check us out at guardcloset.com and follow us on social media.
All right, we are back, and I've been itching to hear more about how you guys got these drum lines started. So, Keith, why don't you kick us off and tell us a little bit about starting the Blue Thunder?
Oh, yeah. Well, went back to school for a degree in sports management after a very close shot at a rock and roll dream. And, was kind of thinking, well, I guess it's time to do something different, still play drums. And what else was I passionate about? But I love football. And I was in my second quarter of the professional certificate that led to my master's degree. And ultimately, a woman came in and said she was from the fan development arm of the Seahawks, and they were kind of reinvigorating the fan base and trying to appeal to a broader spectrum. And one of their initiatives was to start a Drumline. I just raised my hand and said, "How many people are you looking for?" Lo and behold, another gentleman in my class ended up getting the internship in the department. He was tasked with, staffing up, talked to me for about a month in class. And then last thing I knew, he said, "Well, why don't I just get you an interview?" I was just looking to play, to be honest, and went. And my brother-in-law and my college roommate, we all drummed together at the UW at the same time. And as part of my interview, we drummed for them and, put in like the sprinkler visual, which was something the Seahawks receivers were doing after they scored touchdowns back in, the late 90s and early 2000s. Uh-huh. And during the audition or interview, they were doing I can't believe they just did the sprinkler while they're playing, and trying to have sidebar conversation while we kept playing because we're drummers, we keep playing. And I was like, okay, maybe I hooked them. And then a week later, ironically, on my mom's birthday, I was late to class because I went and had dinner with my mom, and I walked in and they were all like, hush, hush, hush. And I'm like, what did I spill on myself or something? And then my counterpart ultimately told me in front of the class that they were offering me the job. So that's 21 seasons ago. Wow. So a little over 20 years ago. And
Man,
it's been a fun ride ever since. So in my second year is when I stopped drumming full time. I made the tough decision, and it still kind of hurts, but on the other hand, it's definitely been the right move for my ensemble, for me to be more of a figurehead in charge, planning everything, and not having to worry about executing all the beats and trying to keep it on time for the rigorous schedule that we keep on a game day. I still do drum in some smaller groups out in the community when we're doing gigs. So I get plenty of opportunity to still throw down. And sometimes my head is a mishmash of parts because I do sit in on snare drum, quads, bass, and cymbals still.
Man.
And
it's funny. It sounds like
the whole spectrum.
It sounds like my experience in a way, because I'm still an alternate in the Eagles drumline. The Eagles drumline is a bit like the mafia. Once you're in, and you're not out until you like die, basically.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So like, I'm still an alternate. I'm waiting to become a made man. But in being an alternate, I have to like learn so many parts. I'll know like up to 6 different bass parts and stuff. And then I'll be in there trying to play 2 and I'll be thinking of 1. And it's just, it's a mess. But
yeah, Steve, that was very South Philly, a made man. That was very South Philly.
Yeah, dude, it's real. That's what it's like out there on Broad Street. But, yeah, that's really cool, man. 21 years with the ensemble. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what it was like in the beginning and how it's different now?
Oh, in the beginning, man, we were we were wet behind the ears. It was the Seahawks wanted to start it under the radar and unveil us at the preseason game. So it was my roommate from college and I covered about an 8-year span of drumline together, and so we were able to fortunately recruit 26 of our friends, and then my sister and my sister didn't play drumline, but she was a French horn player, trumpet player, and she played cymbals, learned cymbals. My brother-in-law helped her out with that, and she had great timing. And I'll be danged if the fans didn't love her, but yeah, we started out with that small group that kind of just kind of trying to figure it out. I think we had 5 cadences and about 3.5 minutes worth of music by the time from when we started till when we had that first game day. But it was well received by the fans. And then it was just kind of, okay, how do we make this work and how do we grow? And those were the great challenges, and I know that Vince will talk about some of those growth challenges too. Getting standards set and creating the identity that we wanted to have, which, like you were talking about, we're entertainment via the drum line. We're not just drummers. And we've had some great cats come through over the years from DCI, WGI backgrounds that just couldn't, they struggled with the identity of the entertainment style and that little bit of dirt factor that, think the drunk football fan does not care about the dirt and they want to be entertained, and the kids, they want to be entertained. They're not, no one's up there with a microphone. I'm sorry, snare line, you just had a flam drag that just, didn't connect there. It's that doesn't really matter in the NFL spectrum, so like once we got developed, and I think it was about, season 3 through 5, like you're saying, season 3 of the podcast, and kind of really starting to find your groove. Well, that was kind of where we, started to find our groove. And, my crazy idea of bringing in guest drummers, was born during that time. And we've had some amazing people. Granted, Seattle has a great, wonderful musical fabric, legendary bands that come out of here, and so we've been able to tap into some of that. And then,
so tell us a little bit about that real quick. I have to just stop you in your tracks because you've alluded to this a couple times. Guest drummers, like what are some of the guests that you guys have performed with?
Well, it's if you want to go all the way back to the originals, the very early on, we had Mike DeRozier, who's the original drummer for Heart, sit in. And he was a rudimental champion back in his day in the state, and the man can drum. I'll tell you that much. Probably arguably one of my favorites and a huge influence of me, Will Calhoun from Living Color came in, and what a bad man. Yeah. Billy Cobham came by our rehearsals a couple times when he was playing in town in clubs.
This is so cool.
And then Steve Smith from Journey, Alan White from Yes, and then kind of moving on to the current era. We relaunched the guest drummer program after COVID. And so since then, we've kind of leveled up, and not to say that those other guys weren't leveled up. We've had plenty of other guys. Kenny Aronoff came in during those early years too. But we've had Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Charlie Bonetti from Anthrax playing with Pantera now, Matt Cameron, of course, from Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, John Tempesta from White Zombie, The Cult. Just had Tony Coleman from BB King's band sit in with us just a couple weeks ago. And honestly, this upcoming week, I'll drop a hint here. We have Stephen Perkins from Jane's Addiction coming to sit in next Saturday or Sunday with us. And so you never know who's really going to grace our presence. Ray from Korn came in last year. Are you sick of me dropping names and your feet feel okay?
No, man, I'm just like, I need to tell
Mike
Andy
Portnoy came through. You never know how far my tendrils can reach to pull a drummer out of the woodwork to come sit in with us, and we give them a cool experience. I typically try to arrange some of their music and grooves to Drumline, and then make something happen like that. Or we'll take one of our stock book arrangements and have them just drum the hell out over the top of it. It's been a fun experience, and it's just been awesome to be able to connect with people who think it's one of the most unique drum experiences they can have. And that also led to the Drumline doing some other gigs outside, and by that I mean 20 of us went on stage and played with Pantera opening for Metallica in Seattle this year.
That's awesome.
So that's outside of football.
Yeah, that's what some of my favorite EDL experiences have been like, is stuff that we've done through the whole gigging process. Like we don't do anything with drummers like that. I'm gonna steal that idea. I'll be totally honest. I'm just stealing it. Nothing else. I'm gonna talk to Andy about it. But someday, man, the Eagles have got to try that. That's a cool idea.
Not too many people are doing it. It does happen from time to time, but I'll tell you what, it's a lot of fun, and the guys tend to be very gracious about it.
I wonder.
It's a good time.
It would be so Philly of doing it with like some rappers, just like hitting a big fat trap beat.
We've done some of that with our halftime performers. So we played with DJ Cool earlier this year. We played with for one of the halftime shows, and we also played with Aloe Black last season. And you name it, we've done it with Sir Mix-a-Lot a couple years ago too. So definitely having a good time. We performed along with Macklemore.
Well, if I'm gonna drop a name drop on you guys for this one, I performed with Snoop Dogg at WrestleMania because of Eagles Drumline. So,
well, that's awesome. I just got done arranging music for the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl.
Damn, your Drumline does a lot. You guys are impressive. I thought I had a big one. Snoop Dogg is getting active in the NFL Drumline community. I did not have that one on my bingo card for tonight, but all right. Well, that was really cool, man. I definitely, if you got more to add at any point, I'm totally excited to hear more about what you do. But why don't we pop over and learn a little bit more about the Steeline?
For sure.
Vince, how did that all come together? How long ago was it? And what was the process of inception for the Steeline?
Well, how much time do you have? Because it is a wild story, but I'll try to keep it reasonable. To tell the story of the Steeline, first you have to go back to 2010, and I was living at the time in rural Missouri, of all places. And I was living out there, and I was going to grad school, and it was a great school, great teachers, great students. I was a teaching assistant, so kept real busy with that. Really great opportunity, but there was not much else going on in this town. So on weekends, I was trying to find something to do, some way to really make the most of my time in a new environment, meet some new people, especially in the music world. So I got a teaching job, a tech job with Gateway Indoor Drumline, which was a world-class group out of St. Louis area. Friend of a friend was working there, got me the hookup like so many of these gigs go. Brought me down. I was like a second or third rung, like pit instructor, just like helping out, doing this and that, just getting involved. And they had a group email or Facebook. I can't even remember what it was now, but a message came across saying, is anyone interested in doing a gig with the St. Louis Rams Drumline at the Purina Dog Chow offices or something? I was like, what in the world is that? And I asked them about it, and they said, oh, yeah, one other thing we do on the side is we produce the St. Louis Rams Drumline. I was like, wow, like I had no idea that these were even a thing. I mean, I'd been a Steeler fan my whole life, being born and raised in Pittsburgh, but I had no clue that this was a new thing. I know Keith started, a few years prior to this, but that this was something that you could do. So I just started to ask him a little bit about it and what they all did. I found out about Matt Arnett over in Kansas City. He knew some mutual connections out in that area in Missouri, and I emailed back and forth with him a little bit, learned about what Kansas City Chiefs Drumline was doing, and I just became obsessed with it. And I started researching it and thinking about it, and I just was completely, sold on the idea of starting one of these with the Steelers in Pittsburgh. And I finished grad school in Missouri. Again, great school, great degree, did not leave me with a lot of great ideas on the next step. I was, in a place that I had only recently moved to, small town, rural, not a lot of opportunities to teach, to gig. So I loaded up my car and I moved back to Pittsburgh, unemployed, with no other goal or idea in my head than starting a Pittsburgh Steelers drumline.
Whoa.
So I was motivated, had all the time in the world, no responsibilities, other than, applying for a real job, which, was okay. And I still was able to do that. But I kind of just got to work on this, and it wasn't something I stumbled into. It wasn't something that just sort of came about. This was an incredibly intentional decision in a years-long process that got to the creation of it. So anyway, I'm back home. I'm back in Pittsburgh, trying to figure out how I'm gonna do this. And finally, I got an email address from a guy who knows a guy who worked with a guy at the Steelers that would bring in high school marching bands. Like, pretty common thing, bring in a band for halftime. I'm sure a lot of cities do that as well. Always been happening in Pittsburgh with the Steelers. Would bring in a high school or college for halftime. And one of the guys I knew just from my marching arts connections had an email address. And I emailed him, this gentleman at the Steelers, and said, hey, listen, this is what we're interested in doing. This is what we want to try. We're going to form a Steelers drumline. Are you interested? Did not hear back. So this is now we're into the spring of 2011. So I decided to kind of take a shot in the dark and send him something through the mail. So maybe it'll get more notice. Nobody reads their mail anymore. Maybe if I present something interesting enough, it'll get noticed. So a buddy of mine from grad school and I were talking. He said, why don't you send him a portable DVD player? I was like, what? He's like, make a DVD video presentation, mail him the portable DVD player, because you have to put it in a box. If he gets a package, it's going to look a lot more enticing to open than just some random envelope and a stack of other envelopes on his desk. Send him a DVD player. So I went on Craigslist. I bought a portable DVD player, and we put together a video, ripped stuff off of YouTube, put it all together, sent him a DVD with a DVD in it about why the Steelers need to create an NFL drumline. We had a lot of talking points, inside baseball type stuff that went into that. But again, we still didn't hear from him. Finally, through some creative Googling and asking around, I was able to get a phone number. I called him, left messages week after week after week. All of a sudden, it was July. I had called every week for 6-7 months, I think. Finally, he picked up. And he said, I said to him, this is Vince Wallace. So I've been trying to reach out to you. We really want to try to create an NFL drumline for the Steelers. We sent you this presentation. Here's all the reasons why. What do you think? He said, well, it might be a tall order for now, but maybe we could bring you guys into a game. I said, okay. He's like, do you have drums? Do you have music? Do you have people to do this? Do you have something to wear? I said, yes, on all counts. I had none of it. We had absolutely nothing. We had no music. We had no uniforms. We had no drums. So over the next couple of weeks, we put this thing together with, duct tape and chewing gum, and were able to pull off a first game performance for the team in 2012. We played it the last preseason game. Went really well. We liked it. Didn't hear anything from weeks and weeks after that. We decided at that point, we still had the drums, still had the people, still had the music that we had written, created, still had the uniforms, to keep going back on our own. So we would show up at tailgates around the stadium. Pittsburgh has a pretty big tailgate culture, a lot of parking lots. So we would perform at tailgates for 3 or 4 hours before every game that season. And eventually, we got to the final game of the year, phone rings, it's our contact at the team. He said, some of the people in our organization recently watched the movie Drumline, and they loved the drum battle at the end of the movie. Do you think you could do that? Yes, of course. So at that point, I had to go find another drumline. So we found a local indoor group that was interested in going to a Steeler game. They came out with us. We performed at halftime. We did a drum battle on the field. Everybody liked it. More months go by. Season's over. Don't hear anything. We get a call in June. Hey, yeah, we'd like for you guys to be our official drumline. Why don't you come down and meet and we'll talk about it. And just like that was spring 2013. And we have been doing this ever since.
Dude, wow, dude, that's actually pretty crazy. To see an idea all the way from starting it out, moving from a different city, and your really only goal is to create an NFL drumline. It's like, dude, props to you for going down that road and just like insisting that it's going to happen. Is so cool. And it reminds me a lot of the Eagles drumline inception story a little bit too. I wasn't there, but from what I hear around the horn is that it was a lot of just showing up in the lot, not being allowed in the stadium, just being a completely unaffiliated entity that's drumming in the parking lot and doing it for long enough until people get into it. And eventually, the Eagles front office starts to say, hey, how about you come into the fold and we make something out of this. But that was super cool, man. I can't wait to hear more about it. Let's actually check out some more like most funny or most shocking different ideas we can get into. We'll be right back with it in a minute.
Marching by Montez is a visual design business based out of Raleigh, North Carolina, but provides services to ensembles all across the country. Our services include custom drill and staging for marching bands, indoor winds, indoor percussion, and winter guards, as well as custom band and guard choreography for all 3 winter idioms and marching bands. We now offer program coordination for ensembles throughout the U.S. and custom graphic design for all of your uniform, props, flags, and floor needs. In-person and virtual program consultation options are now available through Marching by Montez, as well as custom sound design for your indoor winds backing tracks, winter guard soundtrack, and show soundscape needs. Visit us at marchingbymontez.com, contact us at joey@marchingbymontez.com, and check us out on social media at Marching by Montez.
Sweet. Let's go around the table here. And I've had some crazy moments for sure being in the Eagles drumline. I mean, I definitely mentioned already the one that was probably my craziest. Like performing at WrestleMania was insane to me. Just like thinking back to the little kid inside of me that was in love with WWE and stuff like that. It was just like, wow, how did bass drum get me here? I like constantly find myself at EDL gigs or at the Eagles stadium thinking like, I can't believe that bass drum got me here. So let's go around the table here and see what all your versions of that are. Lindsey, what's that experience for you with the Washington Commanders marching band?
There hasn't been anything too like completely outlandish. Considering that I don't go on any of those smaller gigs.
Right, of course.
But what was kind of fun this past season, the higher ups, whoever they are, made it really clear that they wanted to see a full pregame show at every game. No holes, even if, Susie can't be there, someone needs to be there in Susie's spot. Which is totally understandable. But in the world of an actual full marching band, we use We use Ultimate Drill Book. We have dot sheets. We're marching drill. It's not just a standstill and jam or like move over this way. Like we're making the shape of a football. We're making the Washington W. So if anyone is missing in that, it's very obvious. And there was this one particular game where there were several folks who had excused absences, but someone still needs to fill that position. And it ended up that I was one of the better options to fill those positions.
Well, you did write the drill, so I would hope you would know where to go.
Exactly. So I borrowed a trumpet, and I was out there. I tried to play some to at least like keep the facade going. Trumpet's not my primary instrument, so I was just doing what I could here. But that was like one of my favorite moments, despite like working with the group in a variety of capacities. Actually performing with the group was one of my favorite parts. Not exactly a crazy story, no crazy fans, but it was definitely unique with that situation where it's like, oh, I'm learning my own drill. That's weird. I guess I'll play trumpet.
Yeah, I guess no one really does that. That's very rare to march your own drill. I've never actually heard of that, now that I think of it. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, everyone was really receptive of it and really, really cool. So it was an interesting experience.
Yeah, and it really is a blast,
to say the least.
Like actually performing in EDL has been kind of more fun than a lot of performing that I've done prior to this. And like much of what I've done prior to this is what people dream of doing. It's like, doing a good DCI group or like Rhythm X or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, honestly, that was all just a step on a ladder to go get to play some simple beats at the link. But
yeah, probably one of my more funny stories, a little bit unrelated, but somewhat related to other folks, is a couple of years back, maybe 2 years ago, I was judging a marching band show with Chris Romanowski, who works with the Steelers. Yeah. And so we're up in the box, getting our papers ready to judge these bands. And it was like Tennessee or Kentucky or one of those. And so they're reading out the bios of all of the judges. And we must have been in Tennessee. I swear we must have been, because they're reading through his bio sheet and got to like, he writes for the Steelers, and I swear this entire marching band parents, like usually the sweethearts of America, these marching band parents were like, boo, like they wanted nothing to do with him. Must have been Titans fans, but they were upset. They didn't want this guy anywhere near their kids.
Actually, we didn't hear that because our 6 Vince Lombardi trophies deflected the sound back down on you.
That's funny. Yeah, it would be a mess if, like, at a local Delaware County, like right outside of Philadelphia, if someone was like, "And judging your son today is a Dallas Cowboys executive." They would. Oh God, people would.
And just kind of speaking to like what we've been talking about, like some of that just resonates so much more with the common people of the world. Like they know so much more, even if they hate the Steelers, they know so much more about that than they know about just, oh, this person judged this WGI group, they were a part of this, they did the, like kind of the marching arch niche portion. They were even if they were booing, they were way more into the idea of, the NFL team.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I lead with whenever I'm in an Uber. I don't always tell them like, oh yeah, I write the, whatever. I'm just like, oh yeah, I work for this NFL team. And they're like,
yeah. Oh, it's literally the funnest fact ever. It makes me the boss at my corporate office.
Yeah.
just like, oh yeah, well, that's the coolest thing ever, man. I've never done anything like that. And I'm like, part of me deep down is like, I didn't even know that this was like something I wanted to do until my roommate told me I should try. Like, which I'm so thankful he told me to do it. It's been huge, but yeah, it's like the coolest story to go to people. Cool. Well, Keith, why don't you tell us a little bit? What's like the craziest thing that's happened to you guys at the Blue Thunder?
Man, that's a really, really tough, tall order. I mean,
21 years. Yeah.
So many moments that strike a chord. Probably I'd start with, the Super Bowl 40 when we happened to, go to Detroit, and we were playing a mishmash of cymbals because we started up so quickly. We didn't really have an opportunity to order proper cymbals. And Sabian was our partner at that point. And Nick Petrella, that man was a wonderful representative to deal with from Sabian. And he drove 12 pairs of cymbals to our hotel, and they're brand new HHX Synergy, top of the line bad boys. And we pulled them out of the box and we played them all weekend. Ended up cracking a pair literally that morning right in front of him. And we're just like, so do we just give these back to you now? And, and he was like, yeah, I think I'll take those back. So a wonderful, wonderful gentleman. And that was one of the many humorous moments. And fast forward a couple years, we were playing with Queensryche at a concert, and Seven Dust opened for them. And we taught Morgan Rose, the drummer for Seven Dust, the bit we were going to play with Queensryche. And then he went out on stage with us. One of my guys dropped out, and Morgan was nervous as all get out. And then, if you know Morgan, he's a fantastic drummer.
Yeah.
And he was asking my cymbal player, cover me up, while they were playing, because he just was afraid of getting lost and getting exposed of it.
What was he playing? Was he playing?
He was playing snare drum. We were playing the opening to Anarchy X from the Operation Mindcrime record, and it's got a couple, time changes, 2/4, 4/4, in the build up, and I think he just ghosted right through one of the 2/4s, and he was lost and he didn't know what to do, so he's just like, get in front of me. That was a good time. I think, playing along with Odessa for one of the block parties here in Seattle, that was definitely a wild experience. No doubts. That was our first kind of genre into playing with a hip hop / electronica house artists, and super fun, super cool. Drumming with Macklemore for his second record was a lot of fun. Pretty much getting called into a studio and just say, play some beats. And so I tell my crew to start playing beats, and Mac, walks in and he just starts bobbing his head. Next thing you know, he's just writing stuff down, and I was like, oh, okay.
That's awesome.
Inspiration strikes. So, and yeah, definitely more stories than that, but those are some of the great ones for certain.
That's so cool. Man, I would love to see EDL in the stew. That'd be crazy. Get Meek Mill because we're in Philly instead, but that would be awesome. Well, that's so cool. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
Vince, what's been like some of the craziest stuff that you guys have been up to with Steeline?
Well, I had some time to think here while I was hearing everybody else's crazy stories, which are all cool. I have 4 rapid fire I'm going to give you. All of them are interactions with current, well, I guess not current anymore, all with former NFL players. Right? So there are 4 times where the Steeline interact with a player that was awesome and very positive.
Yeah.
So first off, we were playing the Colts. This had to be like 2014, maybe 15, somewhere in there. Pat McAfee running off the field. We sit right by the visitor players tunnel. Pat McAfee's running off the field. He says, Steeline, I just want to let you guys know you bleeping rock. I love you guys, with all his Pat McAfee energy, and then just runs off. We're just like, what just happened? That was crazy. That was pretty cool to have a visiting player.
Did he have Aaron Rodgers standing with him?
No, I unfortunately not, I guess, or fortunately. But that was pretty crazy. For talking to Pat McAfee for a few minutes. Another one during COVID, we were doing an interview with the local CBS affiliate in Pittsburgh, and we met up outside the stadium. Do like a distance performance. They interviewed a few of us. Franco Harris drives by, gets out of his car, like illegally parks it, puts his four-ways on, runs out onto the sidewalk outside of the stadium where we were performing, and starts just like dancing with us. And then he gave everybody fist bumps after. Franco, rest in peace. He was a really huge Steeline supporter.
Nice.
So we'll always be really, really thankful for that experience with him and getting to share that moment with him. Another one, 2013, we were doing the Steelers fashion show, which is a fundraiser the Steelers do every year. They do a fashion show. We performed at it. There was a dinner beforehand, like a buffet-style dinner. I was reaching with, the tongs for a chicken wing. Another pair hits against mine. I look up, Troy Polamalu. Troy graciously offered me the chicken wing. I said, absolutely not. If Troy Polamalu wants that wing, Troy is getting the wing. So I backed off, let Troy get that wing. As any good Steeler fan or Steeler
That's what I was going to say. As a good Steelers fan,
Yeah.
you'd need to give that man the protein.
That's absolutely right. And the last one was Ben Roethlisberger. We used to line up in the home team tunnel and came onto the field before the game. We would march out and drum, and then the team would come out a few minutes later. We'd form a tunnel for them. Don't do that anymore, but at the time we did. They sent the players out early. I turn around, and it's Ben Roethlisberger. Both of us just unconsciously go for a high five. He was pumped up. I was obviously pumped up, ready to go. That game, Ben threw for, I think, 500-plus yards. It was his highest passing game ever. So I think my high five to Ben was good luck. I'll tell everybody in the group moving ahead that was my moment. A year later, we ended up performing at his son's birthday party because his son at the time was really interested in drumming. It was up, north of Pittsburgh at a venue up there, and we got to meet Ben and his family and hang out with them for a little bit and perform. I don't know if his son still is a drummer, but once he turns 18, he wants a spot. You better know that Ben Jr.'s got a spot if he ever wants it, standing off. Those are my four right there.
I listened to you guys and your stories. I haven't heard any. I love the acronym EDL stories, but I can only imagine because I know so many.
Oh yeah.
But way back.
I remember I saw you at the Eagles game once, Woody. That's a little quick EDL story.
I have to tell you, man, that was a pretty awesome experience. I really felt good, after you teaching this activity so long, like the things that are supposed to make you feel good don't anymore. It's moments like that Eagles thing to just sit and watch all these guys who were kids when I last left them, clicking sticks in front of them. Now they're all grown men jamming in Eagles gear. I was like, it was an awesome experience.
Oh yeah, dude. It's crazy because even down to me, and I look at some of the older guys in the line and I'm like, dang, you were playing bass drum in Eagles Drumline when I was like 10. And I'm like 26 now. And we're still on the drumline together. But you've taught all of us. You're like the godfather to the Eagles drumline.
All of these stories, and way back in the day, Trish, you'll love this. The Nets.
Don't you love how when it gets to way back in the day, people call on me? Don't you love that?
Because we're not exactly in the same range, but you're like the 10-year-old bass drum.
All right, go ahead.
Anyway, well, do you remember the last time the Jersey Nets won the championship? Anyway, it was way back in the day. Way, way, way back in the day. I used to do the drumline there. I did it for 3 seasons. Burnout. From Philadelphia to the Meadowlands was terrible. But I had to tell you, one of the funniest things I ever saw there was we're standing, we're talking, and Jason Kidd gets out his car and he's dragging his kid who has thrown a tantrum, and he's like, come on, Daddy's late for work. It was the funniest thing ever.
Oh my God.
You don't see that,
No.
Yeah, I did that for like 3 seasons. So I'm listening to you guys. I'm like, well, that's It's the same thing. It's just you don't get cold. But I do have a question for all three of you. Do they feed you well?
Oh, I get fed very nice at the Eagles Drumline. I'll let you guys go, but we get treated a little nicely over there.
Because the spread for the Nets was unbelievable every time we went there, and we were there for all the home games. So that was a really, I got burnt out 3 years driving from Philadelphia to the Midland for those games, but I can appreciate what you guys are doing. I really dig it.
Yeah, it's nice. At Eagles Drumline, I think they ship us down like the same catered food that they send to the actual like luxury booths, because that's probably just the easiest thing for them to do.
Yeah.
But like,
well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like, dude, that's nice for me. You send me this luxury food. I'm clocked in for about 6 hours. I'm clocked out at halftime. I'm walking up and I'm standing in the vestibule of section 116 and I'm watching the second half of the game.
That's
awesome. Like, oh man, they treat us nice.
Do any of you get a chance to shoot the people with the t-shirt gun?
No, they don't tap me for that one.
Oh man. People are crazy about that. They love to get shot.
Well, actually, with me being the alternate, this is a great idea. I'll talk to Andy. I should have a t-shirt gun. And since I just follow everyone around anyway and just cheer it on, they should let me pop off some t-shirts. Yeah, shoot them out in the tailgate lot. But I don't know that we've got our great attitude going just yet for Fly Eagles Fly. So we're going to have to get back up into the stands and get a couple more reps before we get out there and get back to our What Are We Doing and our Gush and Goes.
Hello, On a Water Break fans. I'm one of your hosts, Peyton Brillhart. If you or someone you know is contracted to March Drum Corps this summer, I'm putting together a roundtable for all things upcoming season. Whether it's your rookie season, one of your middle seasons, or your age out, come yap about band with me. We're putting together a roundtable and it's going to be a great time. We're going to talk about all things Drum Corps related, and we would love to have you. So if you're interested, please fill out the Google form that we have in our bio. We can't wait to see the responses.
All right, and we are back. It is time to dive right into things, but it seems like someone got here super late to rehearsal this week, or perhaps Trish just had him stuck taping sabers in the corner. Trish, who do you got for us?
I have my best friend, Billy Parent, who's in town. Lindsey lives in Georgia as well. And he's actually in town this weekend to stage my Winter Guard show. He's done a lot of amazing things in the activity. He'll tell you, whatever. But his major claim to fame is he wrote the 2009 WGI Scholastic A Champion show, North Syracuse Central, the Y show. And that's every time we bring that up, somebody goes, "Oh my God, I love that show." So it's still remembered to this day. So it's really pretty cool. But I think we're just going to jump right into What Are We Doing? I know he's got a really good What Are We Doing? So why don't we just get into it?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
All right. Billy, what are we doing this week?
Hi, guys. What are we doing with staging blanks at our staging camps? So for me, since I come so far for a staging camp, I kind of expect everybody to be there. So I only see the kids a couple of times before they go out. So for me, when I come to a staging camp and there's a blank, I'm not staging that person. And if they have a fill-in, that's great. But other than that, I'm not trying to stage a blank. What do you guys feel about that?
Well, definitely, at least to weigh in with my perspective right now from teaching at United, like several of my students are out doing drum corps auditions at this time of year about once a month. So then for them, it's like, this is also big staging time of year. Sometimes we just get caught in the situation where it's like, well, Bluecoats camp is this week and he's got to go. And we're also going to fly in our drill designer from California this week. But we're much like you in the sense where not filling the hole is a bit of a non-starter. We need to have someone in every spot so that we can actually take in the writing that you're trying to do and let the writer actually create a good product. But you got to make the effort to be there. It's got to be a good excuse.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, Lindsey, what do you think about this as a drill writer?
I mean, there's a good balance, especially in percussion land, of things that can be put through a computer or written down beforehand versus staged live. So it depends. I don't know, I guess is the good answer. What's nice about percussion folks is that if you have 9 snares, you have 9 snares. You know what order they're in, who's meant to be where.
Right.
You have 5 basses and bass 1 is bass 1. They will never be bass 2 because that's not how it works. And in Guardland, it's a little different. You could have featured saber 1. You could decide you want featured saber 2 instead. So it's a little bit more malleable in that way. So I think it's a little bit more flexible in Guardland, but it's a little bit more convenient in percussion land.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I could see that. For percussion land, I think a lot of it is a little regimented too. Keeps you on the rails a lot less.
You're not
space.
switching drums. You're not picking up someone else's drum, but you might pick up someone else's rifle.
Right. Staging gets probably a lot more important there. I'd be way out of my depth to even try to discuss that with you, Billy. You know so much more than I've ever even thought about when it comes to color guard staging. But
yeah, when it comes to color guard staging, having a blank, picking up equipment is one thing, but picking up each other is another. Doing exchanges, having a person there, it's almost like you can't really go anywhere. And putting in someone to learn that spot is one thing, but then that person has to come back and teach that spot to another. It just backs things up, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's inconvenient. Still want to avoid it at every cost.
Right.
Definitely, I think drum corps auditions are about the only thing that we would really tolerate to create this situation at United, or like a wedding or something. It would have to be a really significant life circumstance to be able to miss a staging weekend.
Yeah.
But Billy, thank you for popping on and being our first guest star for a What Are We Doing?
And speaking of first, this is my first ever podcast. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to have you back on sometime with Trish to talk more about some of the different stuff that you've done throughout your career.
I'd love to.
And get some more color guard people on for the call too. It's you've got a lot of drummers around you for this one. But
back to Trish. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for popping on. Cool. Woody, do you got a What Are We Doing for us this week?
Oh, what am I doing? What are we doing? We are in the basement almost 24 hours. I shouldn't say 12 to 13 hours a day, writing music, 2 wind programs, 2 drum programs, and everyone wants their stuff yesterday. But they only gave it to you 2 days before. Yeah, give me the bad chimes. But on a positive, I'm kind of glad my high school program that I just recently took over, as you guys know, we had about 95% participation. So we got a winds, a guards, and a drumline program. So obviously something happened during the fall.
Nice.
They like me enough for that.
No, that's cool, actually. That's like building a culture up around there. Good job, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what we're doing. Can I get a cheer?
Absolutely. All right, let's see. Keith, maybe you're getting the formula now a little bit. Do you got a what are we doing for this week? Maybe a hot take or something about the NFL drumline world?
Yeah, I think we're getting close probably to our collective. Vince and I launched the Pro Sports Music Association about 13 years ago, 12 years ago. And so we're getting ready to solicit our invites from the directors around the leagues. So we recognize all of the brass and mixed other ensembles other than NFL drumlines for a collective band. And then we'll do actual sections for an all-pro drumline, since it's not something that the NFL recognizes as a Pro Bowl type entry. So we've taken that upon ourselves to make sure that we recognize and salute our hardest working members on an annual basis. And so we're getting about ready to launch that.
Yeah, that's so cool, actually. Are you talking to anyone from Eagles Drumline with it yet? I mean, you guys know Andy and IUP.
Yeah, we usually talk to Andy. We've got an email network with almost every music group director, or at least some kind of representative from most every team across all the leagues. I've been kind of curating that for the last decade. So, wow. I try and track all the movements. We don't always get everybody. It's not that we don't try to, but we afford everybody the opportunity to participate and try and get ahead of it enough that we announce typically during February between kind of the Pro Bowl and the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's such a good idea. What's up,
Steven? I see you putting together a preseason meeting with all the drumlines across the country, all the program, just one big program. What are you doing for this fall? I think that's a task for you, man.
Dude, I would love it. I love this NFL drumline stuff. It's so cool to me to hear like how you guys have been so tapped into it for so long, and you have all these connections to all the different lines throughout the country, because like this is a world that I just came into 2 years ago now, and already I'm like, I want to do this for a long time, at least a decade. As long as I stay in Philly, I'm doing it. I wouldn't stop. So, yeah, you're doing a good service, man. Thank you for taking the effort to kind of catalog and be getting everyone together and recognize this great thing we do. But Vince, what is your what are we doing for this week?
All right, so mine is what are we doing, and it's towards myself. What are we doing? Adding more and more things to our drums every single year. At the Steeline, we started off with just drums, right? It was great. It was just a good old snare drum, nothing crazy about it. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden, a few years ago, now we have the Zildjian. I was at HHX or FXX. Little hi-hats added on, and that just completely threw the whole weight off of the drum. It is crazy. And then 2 years ago, we added LED lights to the drums.
Oh, yeah.
And that was cool, but then all of a sudden, we wanted to be able to control them. So now we all have a battery pack, and then we needed a way to hold the battery. Now everybody has a 3D printed canister to hold their battery. On Saturday night, I was at a parade we were doing, and they requested the lights, and I had to also carry the control mechanism that controls the lights in the wireless network. So all of a sudden, I'm like a drum set and a computer and a light up drum machine all at the same time. So every year I ask myself why I continue to do that to myself, but here we are. Who knows what's coming next year? I'll probably have a kazoo in my mouth and a bass drum on my back and be running around going even crazier. So.
Dude, I'm just waiting for the day where they make me strap something to my bass drum. That's going to be terrible, dude. The weighting on a bass drum feels so bad because if you put an attachment on it, it's all the way far to the farthest side it could be. So there's all that leverage pulling towards one side of your back. Like, I remember when I was marching drum corps, I had a crashers or whatever, ribbon crashers on one side of my drum only, and I legitimately had back problems by the time I was leaving tour because it was just unevenly exerting weight on your back every day, all day for months. Ugh. None of that. I'm with you on this. We don't need any more attachments on the drums.
People want. It's entertainment.
The snares can have it. That's all I'm saying. The snares can do it.
No, we don't do that.
Cool.
We just take the glory.
Well, the basses, we have something good going for us too at Eagles Drumline. We actually do all of our performance I&E style, where the basses are up in the front of the battery arc in the like on the ground campfire style looking arc. So we're not even like holding them in the conventional way. We would have to like get a whole different set of attachments and then put them on in real time right there if we wanted to have anything on our drums. But yeah, lots of different stuff on there for entertainment band. You got to keep it interesting. Lindsey, do you have a what are we doing for us this week?
Yeah, what are we doing with just the drum lines? Where's the rest of the band?
Hey, baby steps.
Don't get me wrong. I love the drum lines, but the amount of fan engagement with the wind players in songs that they know, in songs that they recognize, that they can engage with the performers in that way. And it's not just a beat, it's a melody. They know this song, they heard it on the radio, or it reminds them of a certain time when the team was doing really well. I think there's something to be said there, and I wish there were more horn sections in any capacity besides just the Ravens and the Commanders. I think there's something there.
I just want to dispute that accusation because sextet, 6 voices on quads, and 6 to 7 tonal bass drums can carry melody, and I've proven it. I've done it. We've made it work. I'm not saying because I did run a band for the Sounders for 16 years.
Not the same.
It may not be the same, but it can still make booties shake, and that's the whole job.
Throwing down for Team Tonal.
That's the goal. Then
it's true. Shake the booty.
I love that. That's funny. People actually will be doing a lot of booty shaking that you would not anticipate, especially at the Eagles games. People will get rowdy for the Eagles drumline, especially because they've been drinking all day. So,
it's funny. That next thing I was telling you that I was doing, the entertainment director came up while we were practicing on the floor, and she said, "What's that guy doing back there? He's not shaking his butt. You need to take him off the floor."
It's what you want to see. You can't just be standing around. It's like Keith was saying earlier. Not everyone that does great in drum corps is built for entertainment band.
Not built for entertainment drum stuff. That's why we're wins, Lindsey. You guys don't like to entertain. You know?
I don't know about that.
She looked like she took that personal, Steve. She got it. She got up in the screen on that one, huh?
Yeah, we're gonna get on to my what are we doing for that one. Now, I have a quick one here. What are we doing being so concerned about being clean? All these drum corps nerds, anytime I try to talk to them about Eagles drumline, they're always like, yeah, it's dirty. I'm more interested in doing bucks. Shut up.
It's embedded in us. You know what? Until you experience what everyone on this call has experienced, we think that we are the end-all, be-all of marching.
Mm-hmm.
You know that.
Yeah, then you got
living in a different country. You have to assimilate, right? After you live there long enough, it becomes home.
You know, it's like the HBCU thing. You know, I was right there, like, oh, I don't think I would ever do it. But the more and more I watch it, and more of these guys I meet, I'm like, you know, they do some really cool stuff. And I don't know. Pepsi came to the HBCU people. They didn't come to DCI. And I think it's because of entertainment value.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, being a Lions fan and from Michigan, I know a lot of folks who have done the Lions drumline, and they've made a huge effort to try to meld the HBCU show style with some more core style and really like provide the full spectrum of entertainment. And their shows are incredible, and they speak to all the fans. Which
Todd's done an awesome job there.
That's the goal.
That's cool. I'm gonna have to check that out. That's something else. Another like real quick, what are we doing? Almost. There's like it's hard to find videos of like most NFL drum lines because I think it's just that usually we don't have a media guy out there. It's like most of the people are in the line performing. So just who's taking a video to share? But
I think a lot of teams hold pretty tight control onto that in some places.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I know we actually hire a social media manager to come with us to games and work on content outside of the week. But again, we're an independent organization hired by the team, so it's a little different. But
that's something
you're right. It would be great to see more out there because there's a lot of really entertaining stuff that could
and you're
be seen.
exactly right. That's the thing that kind of gets us.
I got some Eagles clips.
Yeah, Woody has some Eagles clips actually. Woody could be our media guy. But
I saw someone trying to like review NFL drum lines just like as their own like YouTube thing.
Eric Carr video.
And I noticed that there wasn't much of the Commanders because that was like right at the time of the rebrand and we're trying to get the whole thing started back. And that's the reason why I've put like all of my videos this year as completely public videos on YouTube. Like it's not like unlisted or private only for who I send it to. Like get it out there. Everyone should see this.
I'm trying to get more out there, but
as long as the social media allows for those things to happen, which is a hurdle in some ways.
Yeah, that's it.
How long have you been doing this, Lindsey?
This is my third season.
I saw the Commander Band either last year or the season before. It was like Eagles takeover game. We came down. It was like in September, early October, and none of you guys were going to your games. And the Philadelphia fans just took over the place. But I didn't know you had a band. They were pretty decent.
Yeah, they probably did pregame. There's a parade around the concourse and a like concert type set at the entrance that happens before the game. And then there's a designated place up in the stands. But like what's been really cool about this year is the team's actually like, okay. And so all these new fans or older fans are coming back out of the woodwork and they're like, oh shoot, you guys have like a full band and drumline thing going on. Like it's kind of cool to see people rediscover that in kind of the reinvigoration of the team.
Yeah, that is really cool. I think like so much of the fun of the NFL drumline is also, NFL ensemble, I need to say, is really tied to like the success of the team because it's all about like how into it are the fans. When the Eagles are doing well, which they have been for the last few years, especially as you get towards the end of the season and people get a little ravenous, like the drumline experience gets to be really fun too. So I'm sure for you guys over there with like the team really taking leaps forward this year, it's got to be like a whole new level to what you've all been doing.
Great job, everyone. Set your equipment down. Gush and go.
All right, let's get around for some gush and goes real quick. We're really in the midnight hour of this podcast, almost literally. But Trish, what do you got for us?
Well, I have two really quick ones. We just finished an incredible first staging camp at Northern Valley and super excited about the show. The coolest thing ever was that when we showed up to rehearsal today and we didn't have a rehearsal space right away, the kids were sitting outside the auditorium listening to the show music. So cool. Number one. And number two, I have a cousin who lives in South Carolina, and she started doing guard a couple of years ago. And my cousin, her mom, would send me videos, and it would be like real, bando type, kind of basic. And I was like, well, it's really cool that she's doing it. Then they sent me her winter guard show last year, and it was so good, and she was so good. Like, she was out there throwing solo fives, and like, I was like, whoa, like, she's really good. She didn't tell me. She never said anything. I saw on Facebook the other day, she went ahead and auditioned herself and got herself a spot at Spirit of Atlanta this summer. So,
whoa.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see her out there. Her name is Haley, and I'm really excited to see her out there. So go, Haley. Keep it up the family tradition.
Awesome. That's so cool, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
no one in my family is a drum corps person like that.
Mine either, until Haley. Like, I just can't believe that she's as into it as I am. And I kind of knew she was into it as I am during DCI when I was out in California for a wedding, so I wasn't really using it anyway. When she messaged me on Facebook and said, "Can I use your Flow Marching account?" I was like, "All right, she's hooked. We got her. She's hooked."
Nice. Yeah, it's a cool moment. Done well. Sweet. Well, let's get on over here. What do you want to gush and go on about?
Just a very small one. Always about my kids. Excited to build a program. Very unruly bunch when I met them. This was our third indoor rehearsal. I walk in, drums are set up, band room is all cleared out, and they're ready to go. We started on time for the first time ever. It's starting with a young group.
Yeah. You gotta instill the values in them.
Yeah.
They don't got it in them already. You got to put it in them. So
got to put it in them.
That's awesome, man. Good for you guys. I'm excited to see what you get up to this year.
Don't go that far.
Well, I'm gonna be checking it out no matter what. You can't stop me. But Lindsey, what are you gushing and going on about this week?
My primary indoor group is within the Atlanta Quest organization, Q2, the open class ensemble, the defending independent open silver medalists. It's incredible. Just how many returning members we have, how many way overqualified rookies we have. Just everyone is buying in and ready to just hit the ground running, and it's just such a great feeling. I look forward to it every week.
Yeah, I love it. I've one of my best friends was a big Atlanta Quest guy for a very long time. How long have you been with that org?
My first season, I was kind of dabbling around in 2018, but my first season working with the group was 2019. And I've been exclusively with the open class group, just loving on them, getting them to where they need to be. We have a whole friend group that exists in the open class group, and then there's a whole separate friend group that exists in the world class group. And so it just works really nicely.
Nice. Yeah, my buddy DC has 6 Qs or something insane like that.
And he's so good.
He's so good. He's the best bass drummer ever, in my opinion.
Yep.
He's GOAT.
Incredible.
We'll have him back on the show soon because he's got something really cool coming, but not my place to share before he does. Cool. Vince, what are you gushing and going on about this week?
All right, so we recently announced our Steeline Member of the Year. That's something we do every year. At the Steeline, we have the members vote on one individual that season who just really went above and beyond and really, just gave it their all and just did some amazing things for the group. So I want to shout out our 2024 Member of the Year. Her name is Justina Whipke, and Justina just basically does anything and everything for our group. If there's a menial task, picking up credentials from the stadium, loading the trailer, taking attendance on our shared document for attendance at rehearsals, making sure people are signed up for gigs. I could just go on and on about Justina. But one thing she did this year that was really amazing that I think sealed the deal for her was we had a fender cap on our equipment trailer fall off on the highway on our way to a gig. We don't even know where it went. And we had a game a day or 2 days later. She drove 2 hours to her dad's house, got a piece of sheet metal, fabricated it on her own, drove it back to my house where the trailer is, and created a temporary wheel well for our trailer so that we could safely and legally get it to the game. So I didn't have a chance to shout out any of our members or talk about any of our individual members, but thought that'd be a great opportunity to shout out Justina. She makes my life and all of our lives so much easier with her hard work. So
awesome. Yeah. Shout out Justina, man. That's so cool.
Always gotta have one of those, right?
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
It shows how dedicated people are to their NFL orgs too. I would do something similar for Eagles Drumline. I don't know that I have the ability, to craft a wheel well. I'll be real about my capabilities, but I'd go the distance to try. All right. Keith, what do you want to gush and go on about?
I just want to kind of gush and go, I guess, about my my whole crew this year. Just had a really solid ensemble overall, and we just finished a massive production undertaking yesterday evening for a drone show halftime kind of spectacular that was about 12 and a half minutes long, and it was very involved with the whole stadium being dark and glowing lights and drumming along to a track. I played drum kit in the upper echelons of our stadium along with my crew on the field. And I think the efforts my crew has put in, like Vince said earlier, the performances, he says rookie, they're putting in good work, but we're in that 95 to 100 appearances a year category. And so we work hard, and to know that my crew has stepped up almost every occasion, everything we are asked to do is pretty awesome. So I got to give shout out to all my crew for getting the job done, and very much looking forward to kind of processing and building for the off season and next year's guest drummer list. I won't tease any names, but I guarantee they'll continue to be legendary.
Oh man, that's so cool. Drone show is another new level that, I'll start with, can we get like either in-ears or just playing to a speaker? That would be a good first place to go for the Eagles Drumline. But drone show, man, that's the future. That's incredible. I will want to gush and go on real quick in a super self-centered way about a couple months back. I had on my buddy Eb that I make some music with, and since the last time that I've been on the podcast, people actually started listening to it, which was cool. We've got about like 75,000 streams in the last 4 to 5 weeks. Prior to then, it had practically no streams at all, spare for like a small bump on the day we dropped it, and all my Facebook friends listened to it. So that has been really cool. That's been the exciting new thing for me is spending all my time in the Spotify for Artists app and just seeing what comes down the line here. Now I want to make a lot of music and try to keep the foot on the gas, but that would be cool. I hope that every time I come on, I have some new gush and go about getting further and further away from my corporate office. But let's.
Hey, it's called gush and go, not gush and stay. Let's go.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Jeremy. That one is a little on the nose. I got to tell Josh that was a little on the nose. But thank you all for a great rehearsal this week. What a great way to kick off season 3 of On a Water Break. So many things planned for this season. Can't wait to share it all with you guys listening. So thank you to our hosts this week, Trish and Woody. Thank you to our amazing guest clinicians as well. If you guys could each tell us where we can find you or your organizations online, that would be great. So Lindsey, why don't you go first?
Facebook, Instagram, L. Schueller, Lindsey Schueller, etc. Don't email me. I'm bad at email.
Well, I am going to try because I have your email now because we sent out this podcast link by email. So that's
don't do it.
Primary form of communication to you.
Don't do it.
It should be a song, Lindsey. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Well, what I would like our listeners to do is go follow you and also follow Vince. Vince, where could they find you?
We're on Instagram, Facebook at PGH Steeline, and also on our website, www.pghsteeline.com. And if you're interested in booking, that's the place to do that too.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely should book the Steeline if you're in the Western Pennsylvania area. Do it. Keith, where could they find you and the Blue Thunder?
Find me Facebook, Instagram at Keith Rousu. Nothing fancy. It's very simple. For the Drumline, we have Facebook and IG, as they say in the cool kids era, at BT Drumline or at Blue Thunder Drumline. You can also find us on Seahawks.com/Blue Thunder for requests and other things. But otherwise, yeah, you'll see us out there. We're putting out content pretty regularly, trying to showcase what we do on game days and in the community, and just keeping our Seahawks hype alive.
Yeah, and you just keep on doing it, man. Everybody on the call, keep on rocking, because I love NFL Drumline, and all the people at the stadium love all of us. So one more thing here. Don't forget, we've got our YouTube channel now. It's got many of our interviews as well in full video editions. Go subscribe so you don't miss those. Word is that people are reaching out to us as well. They want to talk about things on the podcast, and we love that. So you could email us at onawaterbreakpodcast@gmail.com, or you could find us on social media and DM us there as well at onawaterbreak. We love having people on the podcast, so take out your phone, make a video, send it to us. Maybe you'll see yourself on the podcast soon. And remember, before you close out of your podcast listening app, to subscribe, write us a review, share it with a friend. It helps a lot, and we pay attention to anything that comes our way. That we love to hear your feedback. So follow us on social media at a water break or at On a Water Break, and we will see you at the next rehearsal on a water break.
The On a Water Break podcast was produced by Jeremy Williams and Christine Reed. The intro and outro music was produced by Josh Lyda. To learn more, visit lydamusic.com. And until next time, thanks for tuning in.